Hi guys, today I am going to bring you my Hyrox London race day video. In this video it kind of follows me from a spectating perspective. I've got Holly, my wife, who follows me with a pretty decent camera, this camera in fact, and then after the fact I take that footage, I load it onto the computer and I play it through and I narrate over the top of it. It's a way for me to decompress, to analyse what's gone right, what's gone wrong, and just sort of show you what it's like from a very realistic perspective to take part in one of these events. From my perspective, I have spent the last 3 weeks injured. I hurt my back doing Wallballs at a gym about 3 weeks ago, and I spent the last 3 weeks just trying to get right. I've done loads of stuff and there's a video all about it on my YouTube channel. Please check it out. It shows how I went from the injury to get to the start line, and I've worked really hard to get to the start line. And obviously, even though my injury is feeling a lot better, there's always that anxiety, that what if in my mind. So I'm going to have to be super careful around this one. I've had to manage my expectations a little bit about time, as in I'm very realistically not going to get a personal best, but just surviving this one, I will take that as a win. I'm going to hand over to myself, who's at the venue already. We'll have another talk from site, and then I'll hand over to Holly, who will do the recording, and we'll have a talk about how it went after.
Okay guys, I am here at ExCeL down at Hyrox London, and I am about to get off in my wave, which is the men's opens. I've come into this one with a bit of a problematic back. There is another YouTube video, go check it out. I'm going to have to be a little bit careful on the burpees and the Wallballs, which are just here, just there. They can make or break my event, so I just need to be very, very cautious as I work my way through this particular mangle. This is go 7 for me, 7, never been to this one before, and it's already proven to be a really, really good one. I just hope that I can walk away with not too bad a time and with my body wholly intact. Fingers crossed. I am feeling a bit old at this one, I must admit. Okay, so I'm going to start to get ready, do all of that stuff, drinks, clothes, a bag, warm up, get to the start point, and I go off at 1:10. Okay, so I'm going to go to the warm area, get warmed up, hopefully sort my back out, and then just get on with it. Pizza and beer awaits, ladies and gentlemen.
He's so goofy. Look at his little face.
It's nervous Kenergy, that's all.
That's such dweebs. Oh, bless him.
Alright guys, we're going to have a look at the footage now. A little bit of scene setting. We're at Hyrox London, we're inside the Red Bull start tunnel. I happen to be stood right next to my friend James, who has featured in some of my other videos. He was my Hyrox doubles partner in Manchester, he's my Hyrox brother, and we often go to these things together. I'm historically just a little bit quicker than James, and although that's not important right now, it's important to remember for later on in this story. Alright, let's get on with this video. So I'm going to press play. We've got our watches ready to go. 3, 2, 1, boop. So I can point you out of this crowd. I am the guy wearing the pink headband and the blue shorts. A daring, styling choice, I know. And immediately we're off and we're blended into the general running track. So 1 kilometre round and straight into the ski erg. Now, I ran into the ski erg and there was no one in there. And I went, oh crap, I must have missed a lap or something. Because I wasn't at the front of the runners as we went out of the start just then. But I actually realised that I'd had a good run and I must have overtaken them in sort of as we blended in and out of everybody, and I was first into the ski. Now in the ski I like to maintain a certain pace just so I can preserve something for the next station, and that's about 1:55 per 500 metres. That has me finished just before 4 minutes and has me out feeling good and into another good run. So I've got this pace, it keeps me jovial, I'm looking around, I'm smiling at the cameras, everyone else is doing their own thing. You can see that down the row in a minute, some of the lads start to finish ahead of me, and that's okay because everyone's got their own strategy, their own game plan. Some people have no game plan and they're just going too fast. That may end up costing them time further down the line because they'll be just tired up. So I end up finishing maybe 4th or 5th or something like that in this particular group, and I sort of I'm happy with that because I stuck to my plan. In time gone by, I would try to go as fast as humanly possible, only to realise just how devastated I feel as I run out. Right, so we're on run 2 now, still feeling good. I'm waving at the camera, everything's cool, times are fine, pace is fine, effort is fine. There's absolutely no problems at this point. Now, we're running into station 2 now, and station 2 is the Sled Push. And this is a good one, a bit of an area of contention because people always moan about how heavy it feels, but at Hyrox London it felt actually really good. I've spoke to quite a few people about this now and they all sort of agree that this feels a lot better than it did at Birmingham. I don't know what went wrong at Birmingham. And the sled moved well. But what this did highlight is that leading up to this event I had to stop training quite ahead of Hyrox London. In fact, the last 3 weeks or so I haven't trained any, so I've come straight into this, and this is my first exercise in about a month. So it's that kind of fitness that I'm probably has just dropped off a little bit. I'd have spent that last bit of time sort of working on my VO2 max and stretching it out a little bit, and this is where I sort of felt that fitness drop. It was only at the sort of the last sort of 5-10 meters or so where I really, felt it. And overall, it was actually still an okay time. It was still like 2:43. That's kind of where I am most of the time anyway. And important to remember, this one didn't stress my back at all. There was no problems with the back, even though you're sort of hunched over and pushing. You'd think, there'd be a lot of pressure going through your lower back doing this type of exercise, but this didn't trigger the lumbar pain that I'd been feeling as part of my injury. If you look around, everybody pretty much stops on run 4, on leg 4 of the sled push. That's when your oxygen is depleted, the lactic acid is highest, and people are struggling. Now, when you finish this exercise, you're a bit like Bambi, your legs are like jelly, and the next run often suffers a little bit, certainly just on the time, like 10-15 seconds difference, but it feels just that much harder because of the impact that the sled push has. Okay, so we've moved on to the sled pull, station 3 now. And this one's an interesting one because of the elasticity of the rope seems to be more of a factor than it used to be. Now, bearing in mind you have to stretch maybe a foot of rope before you get any tension on the actual sled. And if you're the sort of person that relaxes the rope or drops the rope in between each pull, you're having to pull that 1 foot of elasticity over and over and over again, which is just wasted energy. If that rope had no elasticity in it, it would behave very differently. I did notice at this point that this was pulling my back. I could feel the pressure. If you look, it just sort of the action of yanking and pulling at a sled, you can quite easily see that it would touch the lower back, sort of in all the wrong places. But I'm muddled through. I resorted to probably more walking it back and trying to keep my body straight as to take that pressure off of my lower back. And I like to do it double arm pulls, which is more of a yanking sensation, and that is something that is quite triggering. I could feel it at this point. I felt more of a weakness in my back at this point than a pain, more of a weakness. And it felt like this took ages. I think it was 5 minutes in the end, but it felt like an eternity on this particular exercise. I couldn't move how I normally move. I just didn't have the tempo or the energy that I normally did. Again, it could be down to missing all that pre-event training, that build-up that I would normally have. Who knows? But I got it done. I muddled through, and as you can see, the station's clearing out before I get to leave. And I don't know. I think towards the end I was starting to feel it in my lower back, and I was quite happy it was over at that point. So back out onto the run. We're running into, so this is run 4, running into burpees. Now, during this run, I remember thinking to myself, oh no, this is the bit I've been dreading. This is the bit I had predicted would trigger my back. So I was just I kept this one steady. I knew that I was okay at this point, but I knew I was going into essentially a booby trap. Now you can see me at the back, and that's pretty much my entire wave there ahead of me, and that's okay. I've been quite conservative at this point, and by conservative, I was stepping down and stepping up into the burpees, 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, and that was to stop that sort of squat thrust, double legs at the same time, because that again quite jarring and stretching of the lower back. It's still exhausting, and again that level of fitness that I should have had wasn't quite there because of my lack of training over the last few weeks. But I got it done. This guy in the hat here, what an absolute legend he was. It's one of the stand off the page marshals. Some of that little, just a few words of encouragement in my ear, because he could tell that I was struggling towards that line. Now the pressure in my back was building here, really building, and this is the important bit. You can see that I'm just about to cross the line here, but coming up behind me, as I was doing these quite slow, is James, who, like I say, he's normally a little bit slower across the board, and comes in just after me at most of these events. And there he is. This is James here. As you can see, look at these burpees compared to mine. He's springy, his jumps are far. Look at him, he's like a little rabbit. He's amazing, but he is like half my age, but I like the last jump the best. Sorry, James, that's just too funny. But if you look in the background in that clip, you can see me, and this is where the wheels fall off here. I've had to resort to a walk because my back has gone. Just a few heavy steps in the run, and it was these sharp pains all up the small of my back. I was in absolute agony, and I could not run. I'm having an internal argument with myself, weighing up the options between quitting and carrying on. You know, at this point I could not consider going on another whole half Hyrox. I just couldn't even fathom it. I sort of managed to muddle through the next run. I just 1 foot in front of the other. I was shuffling for a bit, and I managed to get to the row, and I very gingerly sat down on the rowing machine, very gingerly put my feet in, very gingerly pulled the handle back, and then just started to get the rhythm going. And my face sort of says it all in some of these clips. Look at my face here, I'm in absolute agony. If you look over to the top left, you can see James is the one with sort of the blue vest with the sort of white writing on the back. He'd overtaken me while I was walking. He was completely ahead of me now, and that's fine. I was in survival mode at this point. I had all my aspirations for time had gone. I didn't care anymore. I didn't care about where I finished. Nothing, zero. I just wanted to get through it. The fact that I was on this rowing machine, and you know, it's quite a back heavy exercise because of the seated position. I was happy to get out of it. As I entered this particular run, I knew that it was farmer's carry next, and I quite like farmer's carry. I've always said I quite like farmer's carry. My running started to pick up a little bit. It was a little bit faster than before. I think just the fact that I kept going and kept the blood circulating. If I'd have just stopped, I would have seized up completely. But the fact that I kept going, it meant that I was still in a lot of pain, but I was still moving. Everything was still working. So I got to the farmer's carry here. I picked up the kettles and straight in. This one didn't bother me at all, and 3 rows over, James was still ahead of me, and he decided to take this little rest. And if you look in the distance, just coming through the in arch at this exact second, is a pink headband wearing weirdo in full pursuit. I think James clocks me here and swiftly picks up his weights. So I'm coming. You can see me on the left there. I'm travelling around. James is carrying on. He's doing a wonderful job, and we're both just doing our own thing at this point. I couldn't even see James from my perspective because I'm just looking at the floor and looking ahead. I'm quite good at this. I don't put the weights down on the farmers, not ever have I ever had to put the farmers' weights down. I don't know, it was close this time because I was going probably a little bit slower than normal. But yeah, and I was grizzling toward the end, but this one didn't activate my back. This one didn't hurt my back. As you can see, I'm sort of that phase I'm grimacing, but not at my back, but more the sort of grip on the last few meters. You're thinking to yourself, my fingers are going to let go soon. My fingers are going to let go soon. But I was fine. I got it all the way through. I think it was about 155, something like that. I was, you know, I did okay. I mean, that's not that slower than what I would normally do. It would be 140 something normally, so that wasn't too bad. The next run out, again, it wasn't that difficult, again, because I continued moving. I just found my plodding pace, which is about 5 minute kilometers or thereabouts, and was able just to sort of glide round at that pace without too much bother. Without realizing it, I think I was slowly gaining on James, and that became quite obvious when I entered the lunges. Now, me and James, we've got no love for the lunges. We both hate them. But this one similarly didn't bother my back, and probably because I was going a bit slower, I had a bit of juice in the tank. So I was able to get quite a few good lunges out, and I could see James at the end of the row. And I was making a little bit of ground on him, step by step, until we were side by side. And James looks at me, and I think he was having his own problems with lunges, and I wasn't particularly enjoying them either. And we would so at this point, I sort of made my peace with the fact that let's finish this together. You know, fate has aligned us on the 7th station of this particular event, and we're never side by side, not normally. So it was suddenly nice to have someone, you know, when you're in pain and stuff. It's having that little bit of support is really good. So me and James side by side. He had a little bit of a second wind toward the end, and we sort of roughly finished this particular exercise together, and that was nice. We got through it. Look, James has a sudden turbo. He's obviously pressed the NOS button and he's off. So I try and copy suit, you know, make that final lunge for the line, and get out of this godforsaken exercise station. And I think James is just sort of chilling at the back there, waiting for me. You can see he's turned around, just making sure I'm still there. And so put the bags back where we found them, and I sort of meet up with James. Neither of us are in any hurry at that point. Sort of quick fist bump, and I nearly walk out the inn. Oh, saved it before I went over the mat. Oops, nearly. And so this is the last run now. This is run 8, and we're sort of side by side. And I'm happy just to run at James's pace, and without sort of realising it, James was sort of dropping off a little bit. I hadn't meant to run off. I was just a little bit ahead. This was just my generic pace. That's what felt okay for my back. I was constantly sort of looking over my shoulder to make sure he was still there, because I didn't want him then suddenly to drop off and be sort of left. So I kept checking my 6, making sure he was still there, and he was. And then once you're in the last station, it's just a matter of 100 Wallballs, right? Now, as I walked into this station, I was unsure what 100 Wallballs would feel like on a bad back, because this exercise is what hurt my back in the first place all those weeks ago. So as I approached this, the first thing I said to the ladies, can I have a box? I looked around and there weren't any boxes. So she scarpered off to look for a box, and she got me one. Thanks, Marshall. And I started, and I really appreciated the box, because when I was working, it ensured my depth. There was no issues with depth because of the box, and when I was tired, it gave me something to sit on. So I probably always have a box now, because I just like that seat element to it. And as you can see, two people down, there's James working pretty much in parallel there, and I had no idea what number James was on. I barely knew what number I was on, but I think James was struggling. To look at the footage now, I think he was struggling, but a lot of people struggle at this stage. You can see everyone's curled over, trying to get oxygen in, trying to sort of cluster in a manageable amount. I didn't actually mind these didn't actually hurt me that much. I probably rested too much, to be fair. I should rest. The lady behind me was shouting at me, rest less, work more, rest less, work more. So I tried to do that. Yeah, and this wasn't too bad. And I was, you know, I got maybe 3 no reps. I think there were ones that just were a little bit short or a little bit too close to the edge. And it was nearly there now. Every now and again I'd have to drop, and that was it. Time to finish. Run to the finish line. Wasn't even sure if James had finished before me at this point. Nice little jump for the camera, and a extremely slow 126 for me. Extremely slow. So that's a good 10 minutes slower than normal for me. And the people that are there with me, the 116s, who must have started on the wave behind me, that's the sort of pace I would normally do. So I sort of waiting for my photo to be taken. Nice little addition for this event is this screen that tells you your time. It's probably the time I'm least proud of in my entire Hyrox career. And then as soon as I had my photo taken, I doubled back because I knew James had not come through yet. So I went and waited for him on the platform, and this is James finishing his Hyrox as well. So there you'll see me just behind the photographer there, waiting for James, making sure he's okay. Obviously brothers till the end, and that's it. Okay guys, that was my race day video. It was a bit of a warts and all one, and I think sometimes it's important to show when races don't go to plan, rather than just the propaganda of results and personal bests and podiums. It's always going to be present in events like this with so many people competing. There's going to be lots of people that are struggling with injury or illness or disability or lots of different things. So people in my situation, you want some advice from someone who's just done it, been through it. Just weigh this decision up carefully. If you've got an injury that will be easily aggravated by a Hyrox event, then it's probably most sensible to sell your ticket or defer your ticket to a later event. Now, I know in this particular video I didn't do that, but I sit here now and my back is still compromised. You know, I can still feel it. It's getting better. It's a few days after the event. It's slowly getting better, but I won't be able to train again probably for a few more days, and then it won't be to the standard that I've been training to as I lead up or from a Hyrox event. So yeah, just bear that in mind, that if you do an event like this, it will likely set you back, as it has me. But you live and you learn. It's my fortitude and stubbornness, a part of my brain that gets me through these events when, you know, the chips are down. There's been many a times when I've come back from one of these big, long, enduring events where I've either got a foot full of blisters, a busted toenail, a twisted ankle, a hurt knee, but I sort of grind it out. That's kind of inbuilt in me to sort of get to the finish line no matter what. And this particular Hyrox event is just another example of that. I'd rather go down swinging than not go at all. But that's not to say that that's the right advice for everyone. No, it's not. You have to weigh up the pros and the cons of your particular injury. Obviously, there's a complete spectrum of injuries out there, and you have to decide for yourself whether or not you could risk it. So for me, my event season is now over. Hyrox London marked the end of a very, very, very busy year for me, and my body feels tired and worn out, and I'm going to take a week for myself to let my body recover. After that, I'm going to slowly ramp my training back up, starting with runs, and get back into the gym sort of mid-December and start doing some proper work then. I'm going to lay off the burpees and the Wallballs just for a little while, just to sort of give my back that extra time to think about what it's done and to get better. And then I will start to ramp things up as I head towards Hyrox Manchester, where I'll be going into that with my wife, Holly. She is normally my camera woman, so we're going to be looking at different ways of filming that one. After that, I'm going to be dipping my toe into the world of Hyrox Pro as I go into the Hyrox London Olympia gig with my friend James. We've done doubles before, and we're both ready just to have a little feel as to what that pro weight feels like. We know it's a bit of a step up, but what better way to sort of dip your toe in than to share it? So both of those videos are on the horizon, and they're the things that I'm going to be training for before the next sort of OCR season. Okay, so thank you for watching this video. and I wish you all a Merry Christmas. Is it too soon for that? Please give the channel a subscribe on your way out, and I will see you in my next video. Mata.